CGTN Radio. Hear the difference.
Examining the events that impact and shape China and the rest of the world. This is the Beijing Hour. 1 hour of news and information brought to you every weekday. Now here's your host.
Shane Bigham with you on this Monday, October 2nd, 2023. You're listening to a special holiday edition of the Beijing Hour, coming to you live from the Chinese capital. On today's program, millions of travelers have been hitting the road, boarding the boat, or taking to the skies as China celebrates the National Day holiday. The U.S. has narrowly avoided a shutdown of the federal government, and the team behind China's Chang'e 5 lunar probe has won a major international award. In the second half of the program, we'll bring you the Stories of Xi Jinping podcast series. Now checking the day's top stories. Nearly 60 million cars hit highways in the first 3 days of China's Mid-Autumn and National Day holiday. Most of them are passenger cars. Travelers also made 1.5 million boat trips, doubling from the same period of last year. Transportation authorities at popular destinations have stepped up monitoring to guarantee safety. Meantime, Sunday saw over 52 million passenger trips via railway, highway, water, and air. That represents an increase of more than 50% from last year. The Chinese Ministry of Commerce says sales of major retail and dining enterprises nationwide from September 29th to October the 1st rose more than 8% from last year. Festival merchandise, clothes, and motor electronics are among the top sellers. Autumn is generally considered a hot season for China's property market, this year especially so after several major cities recently introduced preferential policies targeting first-time home buyers. Agents across China are expecting to see more buyer interest during the Golden Week holiday. And Chen Tong has more from Shanghai.
It's the holidays, but property agents are hard at work. In early September, Shanghai announced that buyers who don't own a home would be eligible for preferential loan rates regardless of their prior credit records. In the week that followed, sales at the agency doubled, with over 30 apartments sold.
Most buyers at our agency are still looking for larger apartments or moving from other areas to our region. Most people are still holding cash in their hands to see whether there will be favorable new policies in the future.
Most home buyers are not rushing to buy. He expects to see more interest later in the week-long Golden Week holiday.
We expect to welcome more buyers after October the 3rd, so all of us are standing by.
It's not only in Shanghai. In recent months, many cities in China have also loosened the restrictions on residential property purchases, hoping to lure in more buyers. But some experts believe these moves aim at a relatively short-term goal, injecting more liquidity into the financial market.
These policies are implemented from a financial perspective. They're effective in the short term to build market confidence. In the future, the question of how to build special industries to attract more talent will be crucial to pushing up the city's property market.
After the easing of home loan restrictions, some experts believe more measures may be introduced in the weeks to come to further boost the property market.
That was Chen Tong reporting. Well, Hangzhou is a hot spot during this holiday period as it coincides with the Asian Games in the eastern city. And tens of thousands of people have poured in to catch up on some sports action and explore the city's culture. The Games are expected to give the city's growth a push. He Qianli has more.
During the Asian Games period, it's anticipated that over 20 million tourists from outside of the city will visit Hangzhou. Official data shows that the Asian Games is expected to contribute 414 billion yuan to the city's GDP, which is about $57 billion. Moreover, the influx of visitors not only benefits local tourism spending, but also leads to growth in other sectors like dining, hotels, transportation, and shopping. And the tourism consumption in Hangzhou is not only driving its own growth, but also benefiting the surrounding areas in Zhejiang province. Cities nearby, for example, including Ningbo, Wenzhou, Shaoxing, and Jinhua, are also facing a shortage of hotel rooms because of the increased tourist influx.
That was He Qianli on the effects of the Hangzhou Asian Games. Well, Chinese athletes have won gold medals in canoe sprint and equestrian competitions at the Asian Games in Hangzhou. Hua Tian claimed the individual equestrian title and also helped win the team event. In canoe sprint, China snatched the pole position in men's kayak singles 1,000 meters, women's canoe doubles 500 meters, and both women's and men's kayak doubles 500 meters. With more action from the Hangzhou Asian Games, we're joined live on the line with Brandon Yates. Good evening, Brandon. And first of all, what do you make of the men's singles table tennis action?
Hi, Shane. Yeah, we've had a lovely day in Hangzhou today. The weather was really beautiful and just pleasant, but we did spend most of our time inside the table tennis arena of the Hangzhou Asian Games, and we really did see some exciting games being played. First up, we saw world number 1 Fan Zhendong of China up against Zhang Wujin of South Korea, and we can clearly see why Fan is the world number 1, because he was very dominant in that match. He won 4 games to 1, and I think that he came out very confidently and managed to defend some of Zhang Wujin's attack pretty well, and then I think at that point, Zhang was pretty disillusioned with the match, and I think that's when Fan managed to really dominate that match. But then in the second match, we managed to see a much closer encounter between China's Wang Chuqin and Wang Chunting of Hong Kong, and that match ended up with a 4-2 victory for Wang Chuqin. And yeah, like I said, it was a much closer game, but I think it was still a pretty strong performance from Wang Chuqin. And once again, we have an all-Chinese final to look forward to between Wang Chuqin, the world number 2, I believe, against world number 1 Fan Zhendong.
So then, Brendan, what do you think will be the highlights to watch out for on Tuesday?
There's quite a few highlights to look forward to. First up, we've got some women's football action between China and Japan. I believe it's a rematch of the Asian Championship semi-final, and of course we know the rivalry between China and Japan in any sport runs pretty deep. So I think that should be a very feisty match to look forward to indeed. And we know that China have been performing pretty well at these Asian Games, so it should be an interesting game to watch. And then just for me personally, I'm a big water polo fan, so I'm really looking forward to see some group stage water polo action. And then I would say the highlights of the games at this point in time in the second half of the Asian Games will probably be athletics. And there's a host of athletics gold medal events tomorrow, including the men's and women's 4x100 meter relays, which Team China could be a gold medal contender for. So I would say those are my biggest highlights for tomorrow's action.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. That was Brandon Yates talking about the latest action at the Hangzhou Asian Games. Well, coming up, the U.S. has narrowly avoided a shutdown of the federal government.
The Beijing Hour. The Beijing Hour. The Beijing Hour brings you an hour of comprehensive news and information from both China and the rest of the world. A mix of news, sports, and entertainment. In-depth analysis of the day's big stories, as well as the most comprehensive business of the day. The Beijing Hour, your very own window to China and the rest of the world.
At 8 minutes past the hour, top U.S. House Republican Kevin McCarthy says he will survive a threat to his speakership after a hardline critic within the party called for his removal. McCarthy's worked with Democrats to pass a last-ditch short-term spending bill that averted a government shutdown. U.S. President Joe Biden has signed that 45-day stopgap bill. Sean Caleb's reports from Washington, D.C.
Well, the first thing that happened on Capitol Hill was probably a collective sigh of relief that the U.S. avoided another government shutdown. But now, lawmakers only have 45 days under the continuing resolution of funding available to keep going. They weren't able to work out a deal, chiefly because the Republican Speaker, House of Representatives, Kevin McCarthy, crossed party lines to work with the Democrats to find a way to move forward. Certainly, President Biden, who signed the measure, is pleased, but he said, we can't continue to operate like this as a nation. The first thing McCarthy is going to have to do is fight for his job. Some conservative lawmakers say they are going to be gunning for him. They want him removed as Speaker because instead of working with Republicans, he chose to cross party lines and work with the Democrats. And in the end, more Democrats voted for the measure that McCarthy pushed through than Republicans did. And the MAGA Republicans just didn't get what they wanted. They wanted deep financial cuts. They also wanted money to secure the border with Mexico. That didn't happen. The Democrats, they got $16 billion for funding to take care of all the issues that came with climate change this year, the fires in Maui, flooding, drought. But they did not get funding for continuing funding for Ukraine.
That was Caleb's reporting.